Hello, and welcome to Mo Car Problems. I'm your host, Moses. Just want to finish up a bit on the repair shops. So I'm going to talk briefly about just finishing up a little thing, a few things here and there, and then talk about some automotive-related stories. Me as a mechanic, things I experienced. Just to wrap up things nice here. Okay, if I find out more information, I could always make another video. I think I've got everything covered for the most part. We'll see. So just to wrap up, I went over like mechanics, technicians, repair shops charging you and overcharging in parts and labor, the fees they charge you at times. So what's it like being a mechanic? Just to get an idea of the world. So I talked about flat rate, right? You get paid per job, not by the hour, by hourly. You get paid per job. So if you get $12 per hour you earn, you have to do certain jobs to make up that hour. So you might have, let's say, brakes. Brakes may take an hour. If you get it done in an hour, then there you go. If the brakes are really like rusted and falling apart, and you have to take so much time getting it fixed, taking all this rust off everything, it may take you longer than an hour. You still don't get paid an hour, even though it took you an hour and a half to do it, or 2 hours. Doesn't matter how long it takes you to do it. This is what they'll pay. The only way you'll make money is if you get it done faster than what it pays. So if it takes an hour to do and you get it done in a half hour, then you made money faster, right? Let's say you do it again. Another job that takes an hour, you get it done in a half hour. You're making money quick. But it's worse than the opposite. It takes you 2 hours to do a job, you only get paid an hour, if that's how long the job takes to do. So that's what I mean by it can be cutthroat for mechanics fighting over work. I've had at times where mechanics would fight over the tickets, the point where the manager threatened to fire all of us, and I've had points where mechanics didn't even care. I'm not going to bust my butt for a $6 oil change, or $3 oil change, or a $3 tire patch. No, I'm not doing that. I'd rather have nothing to do. I'd rather have no work. And when I got hired at the Ford location, one of the guys I work with was even like, give it like a month or two, you're probably going to want to quit because there's barely any work. That was kind of weird to say to me. Well, he was right. I thought it would look really bad on my resume if I left after 2 months, so I somehow managed to stay for a whole year. It was only really busy for 3 months out of that whole year. Most of the time we're sitting around, maybe get a little bit of work here and there, maybe 2 or 3 oil changes a day, not much. Average paycheck would be like, maybe 90, 120 bucks, if that. I'd be working, 50, 60 hours a week, depending, which would be Monday through Saturday. So mechanics are desperate for upselling things. They're desperate for work. Or if the work was so small and petty, it didn't pay much, they were like, I'm not lowering myself to doing a $3 tire patch. I'd rather have nothing. So there's a lot of Family Guy episodes I watched because that's what they had in the lounge for the mechanics. Someone brought in a whole box set DVD of Family Guy. I don't remember what season it was, but let's say it got to the point where I've seen every episode of that entire box set multiple times in a row. That's how slow we were in work. So I was like, I got to pay my bills better. I have a college loan I got to pay off. I had to leave. I met one of my friends there, and he also went to the automotive college I went to, and he was planning on leaving too. So, but I left. I went to go work at CarMax. They said hourly. I'm like, oh, great. And they start me off as an apprentice. You do an apprentice for about a month, and after about a week, he's like, he knows what he's doing. He doesn't need me to be my apprentice anymore. Make him a mechanic. So I'm like, okay, you're promoted to mechanic. I'm like, good. So I get a pay raise? No. What do you mean no? So now, instead of getting $14, $16 an hour hourly, you're going to get that flat rate. That seems like a downgrade. So in other words, if there's no work and I'm flat rate, I don't get paid. But an apprentice who's hourly, he will continue to get paid. So an apprentice could technically make more money than me as the mechanic. How does that make sense? You know, and I liked working at CarMax at a certain point. At one point, I did. They had me on the retail side where you take care of customer vehicles. They had me on the production side where people trade in their cars or CarMax buys them from auctions. You inspect them, you say what it needs. The managers decide, let's put the money into the car or let's sell it at auction. They order the parts, you fix the car, they get everything all nice and dressed up on a bow and put it out on the lot, right? And they kind of used me a lot in the beginning. They had me go to retail because one guy messed up a car and put him in production. He messed up a car, put him back to retail, put me in production to take his place, and then he blew up an engine and then they fired him. And they had me take his place again. And they kept jumping me around all over the place. And most of the technicians in the shop had 2 bays on the retail side. I only had 1, so it's kind of short end of the stick. And one guy kept taking my bay, so I didn't even have a bay half the time because he was being greedy. He wanted extra work. So he would pull in a car that's a big job in my bay, so I wouldn't have a bay, and then pull in another car in his bay. Instead of being mean, I tried to be friendly with him, and eventually he slowly stopped doing it as much. But they were like, you know what, you're really good at what you do. They appreciated me what I did, so I got employee of the month. And then they had me go night shift. I liked night shift. It was like 4 o'clock. It's like 11 p.m. And then the problem happened when we had managers that came in that had no automotive experience, just business experience, just being managers. They would question you on every single little thing. Does this car really need an oil pan gasket? I'm like, yeah, it's leaking. Clean it and see if it continues to leak. If it doesn't leak within an hour, ship it. We're done. Like, but a leak may take longer than an hour. It passes standards. Ship it. And then if that car comes back after a customer buys it, it's on me. Moses, why didn't you inspect this car? It's leaking oil. I was like, I did. I said it needed this. You guys denied it, saying that it didn't leak within the hour. Oh, no, that's not maybe the case. You have to put in notes like crazy to try to defend yourself because that would happen. I had a manager ask me if I could glue wiper blades back together that were falling apart. Glue wiper blades. I straight up said no. I refused. You guys get a discount on these cheap wiper blades anyway. They're like $2 to you. Why are you trying to make us glue wiper blades to save $2 a blade? You get them that cheap and they just care about cost-effective measures. And then the customers will get these cars. They would buy these vehicles and some of them had issues. And then it made us look bad because we have an efficiency rating, how efficient you were. If you got comebacks, cars coming back after they bought it, and you were the last one who inspected it, they're coming after you. And it's like, it's not fair because we would say there's problems and you guys would say it's past standards. And then there's a whole rivalry thing where the day shop was getting different work than the night shift. We're getting the garbage. They're getting all the big high stuff to do. And even there, it would be like I'm doing so much work to barely even scrape by. I'll be there for 40 hours, but maybe make 30. Maybe a really good day, 35. Sometimes 40. It's rare that I break even. With day shift, they're making over 40 hours. They're getting the easy jobs, the ones that pay more. There's favoritism in the shop. So you can see how the shops were kind of against each other. Day shift and night shift were against each other. They would lie to us. They would say, sorry, the day shift doesn't have any inspections. But one of the night shift went day shift, and he's like, what are you talking about? I did 5 inspections today. Straight up lie to you. was in constant like back pain all the time, doing nothing but tires all day because the day shift didn't want to do tires, so they gave it to us to do. And tires paid garbage. So I couldn't do it anymore. But some mechanics don't leave. They're like, this is all I know. Where am I supposed to go? I have a college loan for automotive. This is all I know. Where am I going to go? So some mechanics will stay and make it work. Try to make it work. I'll do whatever it takes to make the money, even if they upsell, even if that's how some mechanics think. So here's a little story as well. Some of these mechanics, of course, will try to rip you off and upsell you, right? I fix a lot of stuff on my own car, but even me, there's certain things I have to go to the shop for. Tires, for example. I don't have a tire machine. I can use a tire machine. I can do my own alignment too, but I don't have an alignment machine here. I don't work at a shop anymore. So unfortunately, I have to go to a shop for alignments for tires, right? So I brought my car in for an alignment, and the guy's trying to upsell me, telling me I need the rear differential fluid changed. It's dirty. I don't tell him I'm a mechanic, so I want to see how far he's going to lie to me. So I tell him, okay, well, I just changed it at 80,000 miles, which is 20,000 miles sooner than the owner's manual said. So if I want to change it early again, I'm not due to 160,000 miles. If I go by the owner's manual, which is 100,000 miles, I'm technically not due until 180,000 miles to change a rear diff fluid. I got 110 on the dash. I'm nowhere near that. He kind of, well, who did the fluid change? Did they use the right fluid? Yes. The fluid was from Ford. It had the friction modifier in it. Bought from Ford. I bought the fluid. Well, who did the work? I did. Was it the right fluid? Yes. Like he was trying so hard to squeeze out of the fact that I caught him in a lie. I know he didn't check that fluid. Because if he did, it would look good. That fluid did not get dirty that quick. It's good for 100,000 miles. It barely went 30,000. You're going to tell me it's bad? It's dirty? You didn't check. I know you didn't check. And he kind of was like, did they put in dirty fluid? I bought the fluid. No, it was not dirty. I put in brand new fluid. He immediately changed the subject and said, we also notice your air filter looks dirty, but I'm sure you do that yourself too, right? Do you want us just to continue? I'm like, just align the car, please. I should have pushed him more. I should have went back and said, whoa, hang on. Let's go back here. Why did you say the fluid was dirty? I should have. I guess I just wanted my car back. But I should have pushed him. I was like, I wanted to see what he was going to say. Because I caught him in the lie. He lied saying my fluid was dirty. When I know it's not dirty. So they even try to scam me. Of course, they don't know every customer. Some are mechanics, some are not. So I caught him right in the lie. It happened again a couple months ago. I brought my car in to have them do a fuel system cleaning, and they did it, and the price was reasonable for, I guess, not reasonable, a little expensive, but reasonable for what it is for a fuel system cleaning. So I brought my wife's car there. I have a dash camera built in the mirror. I put it in the mirror, front and rear. So I watch the dash cam footage to see. As long as the car is running, that dash camera is on. So I looked at the dash camera footage because I'm like, I got my wife's car back a little too fast for fuel system cleaning. I watched the dash camera footage. The car pulls right up to the gate, to the door of the garage, and then shuts off. Doesn't go in the shop. And then it starts up again. The footage starts up again with it backing out and going into the parking spot. It never went into the shop. When you do a fuel system cleaning, the car needs to be running. They either do it in two ways. Either they do it through the intake, or they hook it up to the fuel rail, which means the car needs to be running for it to clean out the system. Which means that dash camera would have been on the entire time while they're doing the fuel system cleaning. It was not. It turned off when they pulled up right up to the gate, to the door, and then turned back on when they pulled away. They never did it. Never did it. I got the service writer. I was like, can you come here for a second? I show him the footage. I was like, you didn't do it. And he tried to lie. Oh, well, we do it with the car off. I'm like, no, you don't. The car has to be running. Let me go ask the mechanic. Oh, okay, yeah. Let you go back there so you can make up a new lie. That should be good. He came back with a new lie, didn't he? He sure did. Oh, well, on this car, it's a direct injection, so we can't do that. So what they did was they cleaned the throttle body. That's also a lie. I don't see any footage of the car being in the shop. And you know what? On this Volkswagen, the intake starts to go down because it has an intercooler, it's turbocharged. So to get to that throttle body, you actually get to it from underneath. You drop the panel down, you get to it from underneath and disconnect the pipe. And there's the throttle body, which means it would be on a lift, which means it would go into the shop. And it was not in the shop. The car was not in the shop. So you lied again. And then, okay, we offer a higher, more expensive fuel cleaning. I'll give it to you no charge. No charge, no charge. We'll do it. We'll do it again. Again. You didn't do it the first time. You think I'm going to trust you to do this higher version, quote unquote? I just was fed up. I should have been like, give me a refund. But I was just like, just go ahead. But this time, I stood outside the shop and I watched them. And I hate that when I'm a mechanic. I hate customers watching me from the garage door when they're being impatient. I hate it. But in this case, you're trying to scam me twice? Lie to me twice about it? I watched them. I was like, I don't care. I'm watching them. I watched them from a distance. Watched them the whole time. Watched them open the hood. When I got the car back, you can bet I checked that footage. This time I saw it in the shop. The car was running. Wow, look at that. Wasn't the last time. See, that's twice. They try to scam me. Not the same company. The one for the rear end and this, two different companies, two different shops. They both try to scam me. One that didn't even do the work, and they charged me for it. The 100 and whatever it was to try to do the fuel system cleaning. They didn't even do the work, and they charged me for it. And the other shop recommending a rear differential fluid change when it was done not that long ago. They can try to scam you. You know, it sucks that that's the world we live in. That they will try to scam you. You got to be careful, you know. And as a mechanic, I've seen it. I've seen mechanics that in the quick lube tech lane that would sell things the car may not need. For example, I told you that one guy saw that I wasn't making much money at all because I was too honest. I didn't upsell if the car didn't need it. And he's like, I'm going to help you out. And he's the guy who took the air filter out of my car that I was working on, put it on the ground and stepped on it. I was like, I'm going to sell you this air filter, Moses. You need to make money. Came back. The customer didn't want it. He said it was done recently. And looked clean too. Said he's dusting it off and putting it back in the car. I was like, yeah, see, this is why you're honest. This is why you don't do stuff like that. Even though I wasn't making much money there, I didn't want to be dishonest to make money. But these mechanics didn't think twice. Not twice. I'm going to make money off of you. So, I mean, it's just, you got to do your research. When you look up shops, take in mind, when you look up reviews, you may be looking up a review for a dealership and say, ooh, it's got a lot of ratings. It must be really good. If it's a dealership, those ratings could be for anything. They could have had a great time buying the parts from the sales department. They could have had a great time with the salesman. You know, all those reviews may not be from the mechanic. It could be from the salesman when they purchase a car from them. So don't assume that the mechanics there are great because this dealer has 4.5 stars. Most of those ratings could be from the salesman or from buying parts or whatever the case may be. It might not be the mechanics. You go to a small independent shop, those reviews are only for the whole shop. It's going to be the most accurate. But nowadays, with bots and everything, it wouldn't be surprised if some people exaggerate on the reviews. I've seen some dealers where they had really high reviews and they're in the thousands on Google, but then I look on Yelp and Yelp says it seems suspicious. A lot of these reviews that are 5 stars are coming from the same IP address, meaning that the people at the dealership could be leaving the reviews, the 5-star reviews, the fake ones. Either that or they're telling the customers, hey, I'll give you a deal if you give me a 5-star review, whatever the case may be. And some of these shops are like awful. I'm like, how do they have 4.5 stars with thousands of people? And even when you look at the reviews, you might see 1 or 2 that are 5, and then you'll see a 1 star, and you see another 1 star, and you're like, how many 5s are outweighing it to be this high? So I know reviews aren't 100% flawless with that method, but it's something. Looking up reviews is something. It's not just going into a shop blindly. Look up reviews. Even if it has a high rating, look up what the 1 stars are. Just be curious. Are all these 1 stars recent? Or are they from years ago and maybe they got a new owner where they clean up their act, But what if it's reverse? They got a new owner, this new owner's awful. So all these 1 stars are recent and they're all complaining about the same thing, being overcharged. Are you really going to go there? Do your research. Look up reviews. Look up ratings when you go to have a repair shop. Don't assume because it's a dealer you're safe. Like I said, I worked at Ford. Some of the mechanics seemed like they were decent. And some, the quick lube techs, some of them would oversell everything. Some of them, like I said, would flat out refuse to do certain maintenance work. Refused. Because I'm not doing that for $3. Or in other days where they're desperate for money, they'd fight each other over stuff. Not fist fight, but like verbally get mad and yell at each other. So, also when I brought my vehicle to a Ford dealer near St. Pete, don't know if I'm going to say the exact one, it was in that area, which there's a couple of Ford dealers, right? There's a Ford dealer south in the area of St. Pete, and there's a Ford dealer north of St. Pete. I'm not going to say which one's which, but one of them, my control arms are making a noise. I had to extend a warranty on my car at the time. And I drove down to visit my parents in West Palm. I came back. My car is squeaking a lot. I'm like, that's really weird. So I took it to a different Ford dealer that was in the area, closer to where I lived. And they're like, all the bolts for the control arm are loose. I was like, that's what I have replaced. You're telling me the mechanic who replaced my control arms didn't even tighten the bolts all the way? If those came off while I was driving, I could have died. That's what keeps my car in control. And he said all the bolts for the control arm were not even fully bolted in. So I complained to the shop. A service writer was like, oh, well, don't worry. We got to investigate, blah, blah. I'll talk to the manager. He's on vacation. We'll take care of this. We'll pay the Ford dealer you're at to fix this. I'm like, you should. So the Ford dealer I was at assumed that other Ford dealer that did the job would pay them to do the work. So they just did the work. They retightened everything. They realigned the car. Now to get a rental car and wait for that manager to come back from vacation. I'm like, okay, well, they're charging me almost $400 for the diagnosis, to retighten the bolts, and to line the car. Plus, I was in a rental waiting for you guys. You know what the manager said at that location? We don't know if that Ford dealer that fixed it was telling the truth. They could have lied and made it up. There could have been nothing wrong with their car. I'm like, what? So no, we'll give you some oil change coupons. How's that sound? No, you need to pay. I had to pay over $400 to get this fixed when you guys didn't put the part in correctly. You guys installed these control arms, left the bolts loose, and I could have died. Why am I paying for this? For your mistake. That's the best we can do. And I told that Ford dealer, like, I didn't tell you to go ahead and do the repairs. Well, we assumed that that Ford dealer that did this mistake would have paid us. They could do their job because it's Ford warranty, right? It shouldn't matter where you go. I told the guy, like, well, what if I was out of state? You should have brought it back to us. We could have fixed it. You didn't have to bring it to another Ford dealer. I brought it to the closest one. You guys were further. If I was out of state, you want me to have it towed back to you? No, but that's different. So in other words, I don't feel like paying for the repair. I don't trust that the shop we brought it to fixed the problem correctly or that we did anything wrong. In other words, I ain't helping you for jack. You got some oil change coupons to shut you up. They didn't care. They accused the Ford dealer I brought it to fix the problem of lying. They were like, we have pictures showing the bolts loose. I sent them the pictures. They still didn't care. It meant nothing to them. Nope. I told you your offer, oil change coupons. And I was stuck with this $400 bill and I put on my credit card so I can get my car and go to work. And I paid monthly for a lawyer service. So I actually had to do it. For the first time, I had to call a lawyer. And my mother even like reached out to like a Ford like website and was like, oh, these CEOs of Ford, they care about you and stuff. And it took them a month to respond. And they responded to my mom pretty much saying that Ford's an independent franchise. We're not involved. Oh, thank you. Your website says you love your customers. You do whatever you can for customer satisfaction. But then my mom writes you a letter. Not only does it take you a month to respond, you say, not our problem, essentially. It's a different Ford franchise, not our problem. They didn't care. So I involved a lawyer, and the lawyer was like, Better Business Bureau cares about the shops and the companies more than the customers now. You can try to reach out to them, but they don't really care about you. They care about the businesses. Sure enough, I messaged Better Business Bureau. We'll respond to you within 3 days. They responded within 24 hours and was like, we reviewed your claim. Thank you. And then that was it. That was it. Saw my message about how I brought to this Ford dealer, left all the bolts loose. I brought to a different dealer. They fixed it. That first Ford dealer refused to take responsibility. And they just said, cool. I just crumpled it up, threw it in the garbage, pretty much. Like, yep, she was right. Better Business Bureau just didn't care. I tried to see if I can file a complaint to that Ford dealer. Nope, there's a generic, like, operator when you call. Oh, well, we can leave a review that you didn't have a good experience, but you can't talk to anyone about this, really. So the lawyer was like, before we say taking him to small claims court, involve the county, because maybe they can help you. And I was shocked. They did. I messaged Pinellas County, told them the whole situation. Oh, this could have been deadly if this, went off the rails. Pinellas County emailed that Ford dealer, sent them a letter, and it went to the county manager. So it went around all the managers for the repair shop and went straight to their accounting department. And she called me immediately, was like, show us the receipts, come here, we'll reimburse you. The rental car, everything. Like, they should have done that the first time. But I didn't even, at this point, I didn't even question. Like, yes, I want to pay off this credit card. It's not my fault that your shop didn't install this correctly. I went there, got the check to pay off my credit card. But they, like, the fact that she did that, thank goodness, was a blessing, because clearly the managers did not care. The search writer didn't either. I'm like, you told me too that you would pay for this. Well, the manager said we wouldn't, so whoops. Oh well. But you guys messed up my car. Why aren't you taking responsibility? You should have had us fix it. Well, if you didn't fix it right the first time, why would I take it back to you? It's a Ford. It shouldn't matter what Ford dealership I go to. It should be warranted through a Ford dealer. No, since you didn't let us touch it, we're not going to do anything. You know. So thank goodness the accounting woman helped me there. Because if that didn't work, kept mentioning the county, I would have had to involve a lawyer and take him to small claims court. Because the dealer did not care. And that dealer had very high ratings, which is why I took it to them in the first place. Even though they're a bit further than the other Ford dealer that was near my house or my apartment. But I went a little bit further because they had better reviews. Very good reviews. See what I mean by sometimes good reviews aren't always the best? But when it comes down to it, it could be better than nothing if you have to. Please just try your best to do your research. Look up everything. The one-star reviews, even if they're rated 4.5, look up the one-star reviews. Look up what the most recent reviews. Try to protect yourself. And there's a time where I brought my vehicle to, my evaporator core just started leaking around 158,000 miles on my car. And that's when the evaporator core just started to leak. I think it's a pretty good mileage. A couple months ago, I brought it to one place. They want to charge me multiple diags. One for to hook up the machine, then another diag to test the electrical parts. And I'm like, no. Like my extended warranty is not going to pay for all this. I'm going to pay for one diag. So I went to another repair shop, and it was very reputable. It looked all professional and clean. I brought it to them. They had my car for 3 days. They could not figure out what was leaking. They're like, we think your evaporator core is leaking, but we're not sure. We keep putting Freon in it and it keeps leaking. But we don't know where it's leaking from. It usually leaks from the evaporator port on the bottom, but it's not. So I'm like, okay, so you probably have to take it apart, right? Yeah, but we don't want to take it apart, and then that's not the problem. Then you have to pay us for taking it apart. I'm like, but if you're saying there's no leak anywhere else, then process of elimination means it's leaking from the evaporator core. Yeah, but we don't know if we want it. And they kept putting in Freon. They kept putting in more and more pounds and pounds of Freon. It kept leaking out and put more pounds of it in. And then they're like, you know what? We should charge you for all this diagnosis, but you know what? We've never seen this before. We just want to let you, if you want to take your car somewhere else, you can. And I was just like, wait a minute, you were going to charge me for all those times you charged it? You're supposed to put Freon in the car with dye, find the leak, tell me what's wrong. You just kept pouring in Freon every day and then you still don't know what it is? It sounds like an evaporator core. Why'd you put in for that? No. We don't want to take it apart and verify. Because if that's not the problem, then. But if you're saying that's most likely the problem, then take it apart and investigate. No. They were afraid to figure it out. And then they said, oh, because it's an old car, things might break too. So might even charge you more for labor to take apart this part. I was like, no, I'm going somewhere else. Got to go to a third shop. The third shop found the problem within an hour. Evaporator core is leaking. Within an hour. Another shop took them 3 days and they still couldn't figure it out. And they were very reputable. The shop before them were pretty reputable too, but they're overcharging on diag. Charging me 2 different diag fees. See, so sometimes you do have to shop around. I had to do that for my own vehicle. And also extended warranties, they're tax exempt in the state of Florida. And when the shop I brought it to, the third shop, they wanted to charge me for taxes. I was like, no, the warranty's tax exempt. You shouldn't charge me for that either. I've never heard of that, and I worked at this shop for over 10 years, and I do with extended warranties all day. I got the form, I gave it to him. I'll let my accounting department know, and then they didn't charge me. It's like, yeah, I know. Because these extended warranty companies are tax exempt, which means you don't charge me, the customer, that. You submit this form when you do your taxes. I'm tax exempt in the state of Florida. And he wanted to charge me. So it's like I almost have to do my own research before I go to a shop, it seems like, right? They'll charge you whatever they want. I have to do my research before what shop I want to go to see if they're even good or not. And even if they have good reviews, it's still not foolproof. And then another time, I brought it to another shop. This was maybe over 2 years ago, longer than that. My car is making a weird clunk noise in reverse. I have an extended warranty in my car. If it's something that's less than my deductible, I fix it myself. But I have an extended warranty through my job, right? I brought it to the shop. And they said, oh, your tie rod ends are loose. That's what's causing the noise. I'm like, all right, it's possible. I'd had them do that. Got the car back. The minute I left the parking lot, it made the same noise. I brought it back. And then, you know what they did? They lied to me and said, we found something loose. They're good now. If it happens again, let us know. But something was loose, we tightened it. Notice how they didn't tell me the part they tightened. Sometimes shops will think that the customers are kind of crazy, that they're making up stuff. Oh, I hear this noise every Thursday at 2 p.m. I'm listening to opera music in the rain and won't do it any other time. And the mechanic rides with them and they can't duplicate it. So I'm guessing the shop assumed I was one of those cases. I was a nut job, huh? I was hearing things that weren't there. So they just want to make the customer happy, make them think you found the problem and you fixed it to make them happy. So they made up the problem. We found some loose bolts and we fixed it. If you have any problems, let us know. They didn't tell me what part they tightened. So I knew they were full of crap. And of course, the minute I left, I heard the noise again. Right. I figured it out. I took it to another shop. They also were having a hard time figuring out what that noise was. They replaced my drive shaft. They replaced my rear differential bushing on my front struts. Noise is still there. And they're like, we don't really know what it is. They were even asking me, you were a mechanic before, right? What do you think it is? I was like, you know what? It's all right. My extended warranty was going to pay for all these parts. So I was like, I'm getting new parts anyway, so I'm not upset. You know, if I was a customer pay, I would be furious. Charging me for a differential bushing and all this stuff out of the pay out of pocket. You're parts guessing. See, when I talked about parts guessing in my last video, this shop was parts guessing. They're parts guessing. It's making this noise. I assume it's this. Throw a part at it. I assume it's this. Throw a part at it. They threw three different parts. Rear differential bushing, a drive shaft, and my front struts. Still didn't fix it. I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. It's okay. I know you guys keep trying. It's all right. I figured it out. Aftermarket brake pads had just a slight little bit of a gap to where it had play in it. So every time you put any type of pressure on the car and went in reverse, that's what clunked. Clunk. Put it in drive, clunk, and then that was it. That's what the noise was. I figured it out. I put in the Ford OEM part brake pads. The noise didn't happen. I ended up having a different noise a month or two later. I'm like, wow, these Ford brake pads are also bad. They weren't making the clunking noise. They're making a squeaking noise because there's a traction spring in the pad. That spring was making noise now. I'm like, wow, so I can't win. It's either clunking aftermarket or a squeaking spring, the Ford spring. I had to pick my poison. Which one do I want to deal with? But I figured it out. I also shot the parts guess. So see, even when I'm on the consumer side, the customer side, I experience these problems too that I've been talking about with you, being scammed, being ripped off, overcharged. They don't know what they're doing. They're parts guessing. It happens to me too, and I have to catch it. There's due diligence. Also, if you have an extended warranty, I mentioned in my warranty video that a contract, if it's stated, means it has to list every single part. So unfortunately, I hate this. But contracts are stated, it'll list every single part that's covered. I won't list every part in the transmission that's covered. I'll only list the parts they want to cover in the transmission. So you bring a car in, you have an extended warranty, it needs a transmission because they see metal shavings in the fluid. They don't know what caused that because there's so many parts in the transmission that could cause that, right? And they may replace transmissions, but they're not a transmission technician. They don't take it apart. It's like open heart surgery. You can have nurses and doctors, and then you have an open heart surgeon. They're separate. They're in the medical field, but they're separate. That's what a transmission technician is. That actually takes apart the transmission. He's separate from like what car people do. They can replace struts and engine mounts all day, but they don't take apart a transmission down to the bone. That's a separate thing. That's like heart surgery, separate. So bring it to the most shops that say, okay, this needs a transmission. They can swap out the transmission, no problem. They just don't take it apart and rebuild it. That's a special different thing on its own. So these stated contracts, it'll be like, okay, well, here's a list of parts in the transmission we'll cover. And they're going to be like, we don't know. They don't even know the names of all the parts of this transmission, let alone know what caused those metal. Okay, well, since you don't know, we're not covering it. And the warranty company will do that. If the mechanic tries to make it up, oh, it's the clutches are making this. Okay, well, clutches. Claim denied. Bam. And it puts you, the customer, in a rough spot. And the repair shop. The repair shop's like, we don't know all the gears in this transmission. We're not a transmission technician. And even if you take it to a transmission shop and they tear it apart, they tell the warranty company what part failed, they may go, okay, well, that part's not covered. And now the customer has to pay 3 or 4 hours of teardown just to find what's wrong with it, to see if it's covered. Most shops aren't going to know the exact part in the transmission unless they're a transmission tech. But the warranty company doesn't care. If it says stated, then we expect you to do it. I don't think that's fair, but that's how they do it. So it comes down to, do you think these shops are trustworthy? All the information I gave you, please consider thinking about these things. Ask the questions I mentioned. Ask a shop about the diagnoses. If you have a dash camera, sure, look at it. See if the car even went in the shop. Look up reviews. See the reputation of these shops. And determine if you think it's trustworthy or not. And the thing is, when it comes to, people have asked me before, why don't you own your own shop? Well, for one, it's expensive now. Very, very expensive for owning your own business, to even get started your own business. 2, what if I run into the same problem? Where I run into technicians that don't know how to fix the car. They parts guess. And it ruins my reputation. 3, these cars are getting harder and harder to fix. They're more and more complicated to fix. I've seen a car where the blower motor is right there underneath the glove box. I've seen some nightmare ones that are behind the radio of the dash to come out. And sometimes you can get away with, okay, maybe I'll remove the gas pedals, I can get to it. In some cases, no, you can't. Evaporator core, the whole dash has to come out. But on some cars, okay, maybe on this type of Subaru, it doesn't have the whole dash doesn't have to come out. A Mercedes, I had to do an AC compressor on, where it was right there underneath the car, right smack there, facing your face. Oh, this would be a quick and easy job. The bolts weren't facing this way, where you can just pull them out and drop the compressor. They were facing the body, which meant you had to drop the entire subframe down The struts, the engine, everything had to come down just because they installed the bolt facing this way on purpose. So now this little hour job just turned into 5 hours because they did that. These cars are getting harder and harder to work on. And if this stuff's done under manufacturer's warranty, like I said, they pay half, right? So owning my own shop, how expensive it is to start a business, if the mechanics actually know what they're doing or not. Some do and some do not. And then on top of that, they're harder and harder to diagnose. And some shops aren't equipped to work on certain vehicles. A Chevy dealer is not going to have a scan tool to program a computer on a Ford. They might maybe be able to read the check engine codes, but definitely can't reprogram a computer on a Ford. When they're a Chevy dealer, they don't have that technology. They have to go to Ford for that. So if I owned an independent shop and something needed to be programmed, I'd have to send it to the dealer or have a vendor come down and program it because I wouldn't have that. So it's just a lot of things where it doesn't seem worth it to me owning a shop. Maybe if it was years ago, maybe the 80s or 90s, things are more affordable. There's a lot of mechanics that, don't do this, throw a cope, throw a part at it thing. Then yeah, maybe I would have considered it. But now it's not. I'm done. I'm done with it. You see how corrupt some of the mechanics can be when it comes to claims, like how these warranties work, how some of the extended warranties. Some seem good, some seem like a rip-off, how they treat, the repair shops of customers, how they barely want to pay for stuff. Being a mechanic, how it sucks. I've been in so many different industries to the point where it's like, I'm kind of tired of cars. I loved cars as a kid. I grew up loving cars so much. I love them so much. I wanted to be a tow truck driver because I thought they fixed cars. My dad would tell me, no, a mechanic does that. I wanted to be a mechanic. I was drawing car designs. I wanted to draw one of the solar panels on it. And I want to be an engineer now. Well, I have to learn how cars work before let me do that. Let me be a mechanic first and be an automotive engineer. I have posters of everything, posters of any car from the book fair, of any car, no matter what it was. I love cars so much. 100% love them. And then be a mechanic and see how flat rate sucks. How you barely make money, you have to fight to barely break even with what you work, if that, at different dealers. Becoming a claim adjuster for different companies and seeing how garbage these cars are becoming now, how many repairs they need, how shops don't know how to diagnose the cars, how cheap they make these cars, how cheap they make them, and how they have so many recalls and so many problems and so many issues and so expensive. It ruined it. I would say 50% of me still likes cars. When I was a kid, it was 100. It's just awful. But it kind of ruined it because of how this industry is. It really did. Oh, a Mini Cooper, that's such a cool looking car. I have a poster of it in my room as a kid. Now I look at it, I'm like, problem car. Tons of problems, expensive. And it's like, I don't look at the same anymore. It's sad, but now I only like 70s muscle cars now. And a modern car here or there. That's about it. It's sad, but it's the reality. This is the industry how it is. Salesmen try to screw you over. Mechanics can try to screw you over. Your extended warranty can try to screw you over. Car insurance, so expensive, and they don't want to pay the full price of what your car is worth. So you have to get gap insurance to fill the gap of what the insurance company will pay. Like, it's just, automotive industry is not the best right now. Used cars are overpriced. New cars are overpriced. So, and just one little story I guess I can add. It's kind of sad. It was when I was a mechanic at Ford. It's just to add a story of what I was doing as a mechanic. There was a customer who bought a, well, I'll start from the beginning. I'll say service writer told me that this car needs a key reprogrammed. I'm like, okay, where's the car? Oh, well, it's over at the collision center. Okay. I don't know why it's over there, but all right. So I took the little computer, the Ford computer, went over there, and I see the car's like smashed up. He's like, well, he needs a key to see if we can even get to start. And on my way there, the service writer told me a little story about this car, this truck. He told me the customer and his wife were getting this truck. He's getting it for his wife. And they love the truck. And when they're signing the paperwork, she was like, I don't remember exactly. I don't know if she said, I want to drive it again or I want to look at something in the truck. He was like, okay, go ahead. I'll finish up the paperwork and I'll meet you outside, right? He finished all the paperwork, got the truck under his name, and then he hears the truck peel off. And she was gone. He tried calling her, nothing, blocked. And he's like, I don't understand. We didn't like have any fights recently or anything. I don't know what happened. He couldn't get in contact with her, and she was gone. A week later, the police contact him, says they realized the truck's under his name, saying they found the truck in a ditch. She's nowhere to be found. She's gone. The truck was in a ditch. And that's all he knows. So he's like, I still have to owe money on this truck. And it's under my name. So he's like, I'm going to try to see if I can hopefully fix this thing. So I still have to make payments on it. And while he's looking around the trucks, inspecting it and stuff, while I was trying to hook up the computer to program the key, he found the original key and it was bent inward, almost like they did that on purpose to make sure he couldn't drive this truck. He kind of like laughed at it, like, oh, yeah, so she really didn't want me to have my truck. Technically hers, under his name. And she like ruined it. And then it kind of got sad because the sad reality of it is when he looked into the back of the truck and he found a bunch of condoms. So she just took the truck, had a fun weekend, and then totaled it in a ditch. He didn't know why, didn't know what reason was for that. But I was like, when I saw his face, when he saw that box, I was like, all right, I got to get out of here. Like he needs to be alone. And I couldn't program the key because the computer just would not communicate. It was just like fried. I was like, you need a computer. I can't even, this scan tool won't even connect to your computer, let alone program a key. I can't do anything. So I had to let the service writer know, and it's like, he's like, okay, we'll go. Kind of left him alone to have it, his moment. But sometimes you run into that when you work in a shop. Sad situations. But I can go into more about what's like being a mechanic or past jobs. Maybe another video. I don't know. I think I did a pretty decent job as far as what's like in a repair shop. If I have any other future things I want to talk about repair shops, I can always make another video. But the next topic, most likely going to be about dealerships, how salesmen work. I did talk about repair shops and dealerships, so maybe I'll iterate that a little bit more about how salesmen work, how they sell warranties. I'll just touch base a little bit on that. So, all right, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a good day.